Okay. Burkina Faso has suspended BBC and Voice of America from broadcasting in the country for 2 weeks because they reported things that are inaccurate about the government. They accuse the military of executing civilians in the country. It's very interesting. Very, very interesting.
On February 25th, 2024, more than 200 civilians were killed by Burkina Faso's military in 2 villages in the country's north. What you're seeing here are mass graves of victims from one of those villages. The massacre was one of the country's deadliest attacks against civilians in a decade. Army abuses are commonplace in Burkina Faso. The military has repeatedly carried out mass killings of civilians they accuse of supporting Islamist armed groups.
So Burkina Faso said they will not operate because what they are divulgating to the world is not a reflection of reality. Burkina Faso, here's a country, very hot but lovely people. Yeah, some of the best people ever. I've said this numerous times and I'm not going to stop because we complain about negative things. I think when we come across good things, we need to talk about it as much as we possibly can. Some of the best people ever. Yeah, so when we complain, we complain. It's understandable. When we have good things to say, we should say good things. That's just about it. Some of the best people I've ever met. You've never been to Africa, I suggest you to go visit Burkina Faso. It is very hot, no doubt about it. Extremely hot. I think as warm as it is, people have very warm hearts too. Very friendly. The food is amazing. The history is great. Great liberators of Africa like Thomas Sankara. Great history. Great place to be. So Burkina Faso right now is traversing some time that's very crucial to its existence. A few years ago, the actual president of Burkina Faso's name is Ibrahim Traoré. This is the president. He's 36 years of age. Before him was another president who came in by force, not by election. Before that president was another president who came in by force, not by election. Why? Because those presidents were supporting or were too easy with terrorists. Burkina Faso has been riddled by terrorism for quite a while now. After the death of Gaddafi, many people that France and America brought into Libya to destabilize Gaddafi remained there and they created mayhem. They became the terrorists. That's point blank. If you don't know it, now you know it. Terrorists never existed really at this scale before that. It's after Gaddafi's death that terrorism rose to power. Now, this young man, unlike his predecessors, Ibrahim Traoré has been working very, very hard for his people. He doesn't want anything to do with World Bank. You know, World Bank is the institution that gives people money, give countries money. Let's say a country needs to build hospitals and they don't have the funding, they will go to World Bank. Country need to build infrastructure, build road, they will go to World Bank. And World Bank will give them money and they will build the infrastructure. But it's never for free. You have to reimburse the money with so much interest. And World Bank hold the rights to tell you which company you have to utilize in order to build your infrastructure. So it's not really money that you borrowed. Basically, you're selling your life away. And also, World Bank holds the rights to ask you what kind of policies you're using for your people before they borrow you any money. So they have a say in your local politics. Your internal affairs are not internal anymore. Ibrahim Traoré took power, refused to take his salary as a president. He said, pay me as a captain. I don't need salary as a president. Okay? He said the money that we need, instead of asking from World Bank or IMF, we're going to get money from the people. He took a percentage of his money and put it in a basket and asking everybody to do so. And the majority of the people follow through. So everybody's salary, they take a percentage from it, put it in a basket. And that basket will buy weapons, ammunition, and serve to the military in order for them to be ready to go and fight terrorism. This is a young man, 36 years old. The majority of presidents in Africa, as soon as you get into power, you become rich. You buy houses, villas, you enrich your families, you bring your cousins and everything else. You make sure your family and extended family are rich. This is not the case here. With most presidents in Africa, they choose people from their own tribes and ethnic groups into power. They don't select people based on competence and abilities. They select people based on familiarity. Is he my cousin? Do you know him? And stuff like that. Why? Because they feel like by bringing people that are close to them, they can stay in power almost forever. Unfortunately, this is not the case of Burkina Faso. Now, Burkina Faso chose very clearly not the route of everybody. They do not want to be associated with the West. So what is the alternative? We all know. Russia is the alternative. What happened earlier was Burkina Faso asked French soldiers to leave the country. These soldiers came into the country years ago to come and fight terrorism. Terrorists that the French and America, many experts believe, brought into the region. So we're going to topple Gaddafi because we don't like him. We don't like his policies and his ideas. We don't like it very much. We're going to bring some people that look some type of way, and those people will topple Gaddafi, or we're going to topple Gaddafi and make it look like they toppled Gaddafi. Now, those people, unfortunately, are the people that created the mayhem that we call terrorism in the region. So then France say, we can come to your country and help you fight terrorism because we see you struggling. They have come. They've brought in weapons. They've brought in intelligence services. They've brought in drones and airplanes. But after a decade, they were still unable to dislodge these terrorists. But in the meantime, these governments, and I'm talking here Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger, have to pay tremendous amount of money to France every single month for maintenance. Now, Ibrahim Traoré say enough is enough. We don't need that. They can go. We can fight for ourselves. We can find our own solutions. Are they not humans like ourselves? Do they not have blood like we do have blood in our veins? So if they do, then we can do it ourselves. After kicking out the French people, they were not very happy. Unfortunately, that's the policy. Burkina Faso was colonized by France, like many other African nations. And after the independence in the 1960s, which seemingly was independence, the reality was very different. Many experts believe that France still chose the leaders of each of those former colonies in place. So if they like you, you're going to be the president. If they don't like you, you will never be the president. They will like you making sure that you sustain and you upkeep their interest in the country. Now, Ibrahim Traoré is not about that life. He doesn't want anything to do with control. He doesn't want to be rich by himself and let the population suffer. And that's one of the reasons why many experts believe France and many other countries don't like him. Now, how do you do in this world of information against somebody you don't like? The question is Burkina Faso really unaliving simple civilians? That's a big question mark. Are they really doing it? Is BBC, Voice of America telling the truth? We don't know. We were not there. But is there a reason why Burkina Faso will unalive their own civilians? Let me know which one would that be. What would be the reason why Burkina Faso will unalive their own people? What is the interest? What is the gain for the president who's trying to actually beyond this term to be a real president after elections? Why would he do that? Or is these people perhaps terrorists that are disguising civilians that are being perhaps stopped? And then the report goes as they are civilians. Now, Burkina Faso has stopped BBC and Voice of America from broadcasting because they feel like their report is not fair, it's biased, it gives an upper hand to Western nations. Because the question people are asking is, where is BBC and Voice of America when it comes to Gaza? Why is there no report that is accurate about things that are happening on the ground? But they're very quick to speak when it comes to African nations. Mali blocked some of these channels. Niger blocked some of these channels. Why? Because the reports, according to government in Africa, are not correct. They are exaggerated. They always do it to make them look like criminals. Should they be brought to justice if in reality they are unaliving human beings? Absolutely yes. Who agrees? I agree. I think if you do something wrong to a fellow human being for no good reason, then I think you should be brought to justice. You should be brought to the books. Definitely. Now, if that's not the case, do they have the right to block these channels? Absolutely. Well, people are talking about human rights. They're talking about freedom of press. This shows that the government is a government that is evil. But is this true? Preventing journalists from saying certain things, bringing out certain narrative, definitely a bad thing? Now we're going to find out. There are many channels that do not broadcast to Europe anymore. Did you know that? Why don't they talk about freedom of press? The Russian channel, for instance, RT, cannot broadcast in Europe. It was stopped because they say it goes against the narrative they want to portray to the European.
Will ban in the European Union the Kremlin's media machine. The state-owned Russia Today and Sputnik as well as their subsidiaries, will no longer be able to spread their lies to justify Putin's war and to sow division in our union. So we are developing tools to ban that toxic and harmful disinformation in Europe in another unprecedented step.
I can tell you directly, not a single British media outlet will work in our country if they shut down RT.
Если они закроют Russia Today.
Are you telling me that Europeans cannot by themselves understand whether Europeans are telling the truth or RT is telling the truth? What level of consideration you have for human beings? What kind of stupidity do you think they have for you to decide what type of information they can go to or not? I mean, this is the type of things you do for your children. You know, you need to control what they watch. You don't do that for adults. Now, if Europe could block some channels because they feel it's propaganda and lies, why shouldn't Burkina Faso do the same? Just asking a question. Are these other channels really telling the lies all the time? We don't know that. Are Europeans telling the truth all the time about Ukraine? We don't know that. Now, does every country have the right to upkeep its image out there? It looks like that's the answer. Let me know how you feel about this. Do you think Burkina Faso is right to block this channel, saying if you portray, you give opportunities to terrorists to speak out? Because some channels have done. They've given some terrorists a platform to express themselves, to say what they think, to say what their goals are. And some reports have been inaccurate and very biased. Do you think Burkina Faso has the right to act in a way that they have acted? Let me know how you feel about this. It's always a great pleasure. God bless.